Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Pump Take Sports Show basketball segment. I'm here today with Marco,
Hello.
and we're going to be talking about a team in the NBA that's on another hot streak, similar to what we did last week in our Utah Jazz video. Except this week we're going to be talking about the Washington Wizards. The Wizards are on a massive hot streak as of late, winning 7 of their past 8 games, and these wins have come across very impressive foes such as like the Trailblazers, the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Nuggets 2 times. And these teams all occupy playoff spots. So the Wizards are on a very interesting run here. So me and Marco are going to just kind of talk about how they've turned around their season so far. So Marco, do you have anything that you wanted to start with the Wizards?
Yeah, dude, to start, I just think it's pretty funny. Their first win against a under 500 team this year was against the Timberwolves. So all of their wins previous to this hot streak were against over 500 teams.
Wow.
Just an interesting stat, kind of weird. But yeah, so Washington Wizards playing great. They were on a 5-game win streak, lost to the Clippers. Fair. Clippers are a great team. Can't fault that. Definitely a couple things that I think are contributing to their success. And Westbrook being back is a huge thing. You know, Westbrook gets hated on a lot. And it's pretty clear why. Like, there's this narrative that he is a, rebound hog or like a stat patter, as well as kind of like being, kind of always running at like 100%. So he's like not making good decisions. He's taking bad shots. It's almost like he's trying too hard sometimes, although obviously this is his narrative. It seems like Westbrook's narrative.
This is actually one of the main things that I wanted to talk about in this video and why I actually proposed doing this, because I've owned Westbrook in fantasy for most of the season for the viewers. And because of this, I've watched like almost every Wizards game. And I always find that these narratives surrounding Westbrook are just really like unfair. And granted, Westbrook has his problems. Like in December, like when the Wizards went like 0 for 5 or something to start, he was shooting like 38% from the field, and he leads the NBA in mid-range attempts per games at 6.3 and shoots 37% on these shots.
So bad.
Which is bad. Westbrook undeniably has his problems, and I'm not going to go up here and claim that Westbrook is like a perfect player. But I see a lot of times in NBA media, Westbrook gets talked about as if he's like a net negative to a team, which is something that, to be honest, I think is kind of a bunch of bullshit. If you actually watch the Wizards play, you'll kind of see like why Westbrook's like analytics are what they are and why those kind of like statistical like narratives develop. A lot of the time when Westbrook has the ball, one thing I've noticed watching the Wizards this year and prior to these last 8 games, there's been no sort of fluidity in their offense. Westbrook will get the ball at the top of the key, and a lot of it stems from guys like Davis Bertans and Robin Lopez not really knowing how to play their positions and their role in the team at the beginning of the year. A lot of the time, these guys would either just be standing in the corner or just standing at the top of the key. Not like they're not moving, they're not setting screens. And a guy like Westbrook, who's granted isn't a great shooter, he needs big men on his team to be able to kind of like
he needs to drive to the net, bro.
Yeah, he needs guys that know how to play their position and create lanes. And in the first part of the season, that just wasn't happening. But now, sorry, I'm kind of rambling on here. But
you're fired up. I read it.
One thing I heard in the news, just in like the NBA just media circle recently, was at a recent Washington Wizards practice, Russel Westbrook took the entire practice to go around and go to each guy on the team and make them define in front of everybody else, what is your role on this team? And that actually happened prior to them going on this streak, like right before the first game of this hot streak that they've been on. And I think that the guys on this team starting to learn their role and what they actually have to do has been very important for them turning this around.
Dude, we've talked about the importance of that before. The importance of like hierarchy in a basketball team and understanding your place, like understanding what you're supposed to do. Like Robin Lopez clearly is Robin Lopez, and he should know who he is. Same with Bertans, same with everyone else. And like for Westbrook to step up and take a leadership role, and for the players to actually, take that positively. Clearly, it's benefited the team. I didn't know that. That's super cool.
Yeah, and it was actually interesting too, because how this was like released out into the like the media circle was actually through like a post-game interview with Rui Hachimura. And he gave Westbrook a lot of credit in just like providing like great leadership on and off the floor in terms of just like coaching guys up and making them just understand what they have to do for the team to be successful. And he gave him a lot of credit for them turning it around.
And so, bro, that means a lot from a guy like Hachimura, who's like a promising young guy. Yeah. So exactly. For Westbrook to have a good impression on someone like that, who the franchise of the Wizards look at as like a young star and who they want to develop, that's such an important thing for your team.
And even on the floor, it's like, besides his like, when you open the box score and you like look at Westbrook's efficiency and then go on Instagram and start calling him Westbrook, like he actually hasn't been that bad if you actually watch him play.
And it's the other stuff that he does that like Westbrook, we all know he's not a good shooter, and he had like 1 or 2 seasons where he was like a decent shooter from 3, but he's never been good. That's just not who he is as a player. But dude, over the past, I have him in another fantasy league, so he's been snapping for me, right? And over the last 2 weeks, I think he's averaging 12 assists and 12 rebounds, which is crazy. Like he's doing his triple-double thing. Like he is Mr. Triple-Double. That's who he is. And like for him to do that, he doesn't need to shoot extremely efficiently, because that's not what you expect from Westbrook. He needs to drive to the basket. He needs to draw pressure from the defense. He needs to make smart plays, good passes, and be a leader and have energy. And that seems to be what he's doing. And the team is taking that and succeeding.
And for Westbrook, the playmaking has been there all season. And like
it has.
In fact, Westbrook is actually an incredible facilitator. And for most of the season, he was doing exactly what he has to do. Whereas when he has a lane, he gets to that, he draws a double and he kicks it out, and he has fantastic court vision. He'll make a play. And I think a big part of the Wizards' success is that supporting cast around Westbrook and Bradley Beal, they're starting to turn it around and execute. Like in the most recent win over the Nuggets, Hachimura, Raul Neto, and Robin Lopez combined over 45 of those points.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And like Hachimura especially, he's been showing in this past stretch that he's able to step up and sort of, like we were saying earlier, know his role in the team and be the third guy in that offense. He's averaging 15 points per game in February, and he's scored in double figures in 10 straight games. And that doesn't just apply to Hachimura. Like Bertans is shooting better.
Bro, Bertans, his 3-point shooting is ridiculous right now. I think he's shooting like 40 or 52% or 48% from 3 over the last 8 games, something like insane like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
One more thing, last thing about Westbrook that I want to bring up is that at the very beginning of the season, he said there was a quote, or maybe the quote was recent, but he said he felt like he was playing on one leg because his other leg was like
he had like a thigh issue or a quad issue or something.
A terrible, and like Westbrook, bro, the man, all like his main attribute that makes him so good is his explosiveness. And if he doesn't, obviously that's not the
but it's a big part of his like
exactly. It's a huge part of his game, and like what defines him as a player is explosiveness. And if he has a leg injury, like that just isn't in his game, and like his slashing. That's why he is so good, and he is Westbrook. So it's so clear, like it's literally a night and day difference with him right now. And all the surrounding players around him and Bradley Beal. Obviously, Bradley Beal is doing his Bradley Beal thing. And all the other players around are starting to, figure out their roles better.
Even Bradley Beal is like, and this is almost like difficult to even imagine. He's even stepped it up to another level than what he was previously in this stretch, where it's like,
it's crazy.
Like this season, he's averaging like 38 points per game. I think he's actually leading the NBA in scoring this year. But over the course of this run, he's seen even more of a bump in scoring. He's over 33 points per game. And in 6 of the wins, he's put up at least 33 points. So like,
yeah, bro,
Bradley Beal, it's like
he's amazing.
There's not much you can say about him. Like the guy's just like a lights out scorer.
Yeah, he is balling. Dude. So taking it back to the Rockets, Washington trade, I think it's pretty clear that Washington made the right decision. Now, Westbrook is playing up. Like if they can keep this up, obviously they don't need to keep this up. like what they're doing right now, beating teams like the Nuggets and the Lakers and, going on this crazy stretch. But if they can keep this chemistry going and if they can stay at like over a 500 team, they're going to make the playoffs. And I think it's, I'll just go through the schedule, or not schedule. We'll go through the schedule too, but I'll go through the conference just a little bit. Right now they're sitting 12th in the conference at 13-8. But there is only 5 teams that are 500 and above in the East. The East is anyone's
kind
game.
Of dog water this year.
It's kind of poo. But yeah, it's anyone's game. Like the Wizards could totally make it. You still got the Knicks in, you still got the Heat, the Bulls, the Celtics. I mean, there's like good teams, but if the Wizards play at the level that they are right now, I see them being 7th or 8th seed. And before the season, I predicted the Wizards being 8th. I did not predict the Knicks making it, but I predicted the Wizards being 8th.
I think the Wizards at 8 is like a pretty like that's a pretty good assumption. It's like on a team with like Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, I know that was kind of just the big thing at the beginning of the season that the big backcourt duo in Washington, but like there's no reason that they have the talent to make the playoffs, and even guys like Hachimura are like should be taking a step up this year. So Washington, like the expectation going into this year was that they were going to be a playoff team at least, and I think you're completely right. I think that like who's sitting in the 8th seat right now? I think it's the Bulls at 13 and 15 and 17.
15 and 17, yeah. The only team that I see that isn't in the playoffs right now that I think should make the playoffs, and if they don't make the playoffs, it is such a disappointment, is the Atlanta Hawks, sitting at 14 and 19, so 1 win more than the Wizards. But the way the Wizards are playing right now, like they're outplaying the Hawks by a mile.
Yeah, and it's almost just like with how bad like they were in the beginning of the season, that if you watch them, it was just like holy shit, like this team is like, this is the worst basketball team I've ever like even seen Wizards play. Yeah. So it's almost a matter of just like they have to just regress to the median and play well. So like obviously they're not going to be this hot for the rest of the season. I don't see a reason why they can't be a 500 team the rest of the way and make it into the playoffs.
And right now 500 is all you need to be.
Like there's so many teams in that the range of them, like the Bulls, the Wizards, or obviously the fucking Wizards,
the Hawks,
the Hawks, the Hornets, the Pacers, the Knicks, where it's like all those teams are like kind of like they're kind of like the same.
Nothing special.
Exactly. They're nothing special, but it's like it's just going to be a matter of who can just execute in the second half of the season to get themselves into the playoffs.
Wizards at 8. Knocked out in 4 or 5 by the Nets. That's my prediction. Unfortunately, like the Nets are just whatever. They're OP. Do you want to go through the schedule just a little bit for the Wizards? Because we don't need to go in depth, obviously, but the Wizards do have a tough road ahead. So they're playing the Celtics tonight at 7. Grizzlies, who are playing really well recently. Clippers, Grizzlies again. 76ers, Bucks again. They play the Jazz. Then they play the Nets. Then they play the Knicks on a back-to-back. Pistons, Pacers, those aren't bad. But, man, they got some tough games coming up. If they can walk away from the next 10 games just winning like 5 of them, that is a absolute success in my books. In my book. Just one book, not books. But, tough.
He has multiple books.
I got a lot of books. Just a good reader.
But yeah, it definitely is a tough road for them. But at the same time, it's like if you build your team with the expectation of making the playoffs, you need to just win those games. You have to win some of them, otherwise you're just not a playoff team, obviously. But it's a tough schedule for them for sure. But Wizards can probably maybe keep this going. Westbrook seems to have returned to his all-star caliber. Bradley Beal is still just doing Bradley Beal things. And the last thing I want to say on it is that Wizards supporting cast, they haven't even just stepped up on offense, but there's much better defensive execution happening. That like it seems like it's almost just a matter of effort, just like fighting through screens and staying like being disciplined and just staying on your man. And it's just overall, it wasn't a personnel thing. It's just overall defensive execution has been much better in this stretch for them.
Dude, so I was reading this article before we got on. During that 5-game win streak, their defensive rating was second in the NBA. Second. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. And I think their offensive rating was 10th. So obviously, I don't think that's necessarily sustainable. But if they can be consistently a good defensive team, like, that's huge, because games against teams like the Hawks or the Hawks and other bad defensive teams, those are just easy wins now, whereas they just used to be tough.
Yeah. And especially just when you compare that to where they were at the beginning of the season, where they were in that stretch at the beginning when they were very, very bad. They were dead last in defensive rating.
Yeah, exactly.
So now it's like to sort of just like be able to just really just flip that switch and just become just more disciplined defensive team has just been huge for them.
Absolutely huge. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
All right. Unless Marco has anything else to discuss about the Wizards, with that, I think we'll wrap it up. So Washington Wizards fans, if you're watching to this point, let us know in the comments what you think about the Wizards. Do you think that this hot stretch they're on is sustainable, or do you think that they're going to kind of regress down to earth? See you guys.